You have walked into a house and felt it. Everyone has. The furniture was fine, the rooms were clean, the people smiled at the door, and something in you tightened the moment you crossed the threshold. A heaviness, a thickness in the air that no window ever seemed to let out. You made your visit shorter than you planned, and in the car afterward you exhaled like a person coming up from deep water, and you could not have explained any of it to anyone. And here's the question I'm going to ask you tonight, and I want you to hold still while it lands. What if the house you felt that in is your own? What if you stopped noticing, the way a person stops noticing a smell they live inside? Because homes carry presence. My people have known this as long as we have built dwellings. And I want to be careful and honest with you tonight about what I mean, because I am not here to frighten you, and the television has done enough of that with its ghost stories. When the old people spoke of a dark presence in a dwelling, they were speaking of something real, and something that can absolutely be driven out, and the driving out does not require anyone but you. But first, you must learn to read the signs, because a draining house hides itself from the people inside it best of all. Tonight I will give you the 5 signs the way they were given to me. And then, because I never name a sickness without naming the medicine, I will teach you the old cleansing step by step before you leave. Your home should be the one place on this earth that gives to you. If it has become a place that takes, we are going to find out tonight, and we are going to take it back. But before the signs, let me tell you what a dark presence actually is in the old understanding, because the modern world has only horror movie pictures, and the horror movie pictures will make you miss the real thing. My grandmother taught it to me this way. She said, everything that happens inside a dwelling leaves something behind. Every word spoken in those rooms, every feeling carried through those doorways, leaves a residue, the way smoke leaves residue, invisible day by day, and real. A house where laughter has lived for years is soaked in laughter, and you can feel it in your first breath inside. That is the lightness you have felt in certain homes your whole life. And a house where anger lived, where grief was never released, where silence hardened year after year, where fear paced the halls at night, that house is soaked too. She said people think a dark presence comes into a house from outside, through some door from some other world. Almost never, grandson. Almost always, it is made inside, fed daily. Grown in place, like mold in a wall from everything heavy that happened in those rooms and was never cleaned out. The unresolved argument does not leave when the arguing stops. The grief does not leave when the funeral ends. The fear does not leave when the crisis passes. Unless they are released, unless the house is cleansed the way the old people cleansed, it all settles into the walls and the corners and the unused rooms, layer on layer, year on year. And a person living inside those layers is living inside a weight, and the weight presses on them every hour they are home, and they call the result tiredness or age, or just how I feel lately. It is the house. Or rather, it is everything the house was never helped to let go of. That is the dark presence, not a visitor, a residue. And residue, hear this and hold it all night, residue can always be cleaned. Let me prove the teaching to you with 2 houses I knew, the same house, in fact, in 2 different eras, which is the cleanest proof there is. There was a dwelling in a community I knew where a family had come apart badly. Years of anger inside those walls, then a bitter leaving, then one man alone in it for a long time with his silence and his bottles. And then it stood empty. And that house had a reputation, the way houses get reputations. Children crossed the road rather than pass close to it, and if you asked them why, they shrugged. They only knew their feet did it. Grown people said the house gave them a feeling. The practical ones laughed at all that, and then bought elsewhere. And then a young family, from away, knowing nothing of any of it, bought it cheap. And the first thing the young wife did, before the furniture even came and I watched her do it, was throw open every window in that house on a windy day and let the air roar through it for hours while she walked room to room with music playing from a little machine on her hip, singing terribly, painting sunlight colors on the walls. And they lived loudly in that house, cooked constantly in it, filled it with children and dogs and noise and their 1,000 small kindnesses to each other. And within 2 years, hear me, 2 years, that house, the same boards, the same rooms where all that darkness had soaked, became the house where the whole street's children ended up on summer evenings. The house people lingered in. The reputation dissolved so completely that newcomers could not believe the old stories. Same walls, different residue. Nobody performed a miracle on that dwelling. A keeper simply arrived who fed it light instead of weight, day after day, until the light was what lived there. Remember that house tonight when I teach you the cleansing. Every heavy house is that house, one keeper away from summer evenings. And notice one more thing about that story before we go on, because it answers the fear some of you are carrying right now. The young family never knew what had happened in those walls. They never learned the history, never named the residue, never understood what they were cleansing. They simply outlived it, which means you do not need to know everything your house is holding to begin lightening it. You do not need the full accounting of every grief and every argument soaked into those rooms. The cleansing works on what it finds. Keep that close as we walk through the signs. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever, and most of what I know was never written anywhere, so I sat down and I wrote it, all of it. 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received. The ones about the dwelling and its spirit. The ones about the old cleansings that give a house back its lightness. The ones I have never said on camera. It is called the native way, and it costs less than one dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments, but do not leave yet. Because now come the 5 signs, and I want you to walk through your own house in your mind as I name them, room by room, honestly. Some of you are going to recognize your home tonight. That recognition is the beginning of taking it back. The first sign a dark presence is draining your home is the threshold feeling, and you must catch it fast, because it hides fast. It happens in the first 3 breaths when you come home. You have been out, at the store, at the church, at a friend's table, and something in you was lighter out there, and you may have noticed that and felt guilty about it. Lighter away from my own home. What is wrong with me? And then you walk in your own door, and in those first 3 breaths, before the habit of the house closes over you, there is a dip, a lowering. Like a coat being put over your shoulders, a coat you will wear until you leave again and will not feel because you are wearing it. Guests feel it too, and this is the honest test. Watch your guests. Do people linger in your home, settle deep into the chairs, lose track of time, hate to leave? Or do visits run short? Do people stand when they could sit? Do they glance without knowing it toward the door? Children are the truest instruments of all. Children read dwellings the way dogs read men. If the grandchildren are always restless in your house, always wanting to go outside, to go to the yard, to go anywhere, do not rush to blame their screens and their sugar. They may be feeling honestly what everyone else has learned to be polite about. The house is heavy. Mark this sign if it is yours. The next 4 go deeper. The second sign is the dead room. Nearly every draining house has one. A room that is never used, and I do not mean the tidy guest room kept ready in hope. I mean the room that the household walks past. The door that stays closed without anyone ever deciding it should be. The room where the boxes went after the loss. His office, still exactly his, years on. Her sewing room. The bedroom that was someone's and is now nobody's and is entered twice a year with held breath. Understand what a dead room does to a dwelling in the old understanding. A house is like a body, and its rooms are its organs, and the life of the house, its air, its light, its spirit, must circulate through all of it the way blood must. A sealed room is a stopped organ. Everything in it stops moving, the air, the light, the grief that got boxed and shelved in there. And it does not stay in the room. That is the deception of the closed door. It seeps. The whole house organizes itself around the dead room the way a body organizes itself around a wound quietly, expensively, all day, every day. and the people of the house feel the cost without ever tracing it to the door they walk past. If your house has such a room and half of you just saw its door in your mind, hear me clearly. I am not saying tear it open tonight and empty it by morning. The room holds what it holds because a heart was not ready. But hear this. The room cannot stay sealed forever, because sealed is not the same as healed, and the house cannot be light while one of its organs is stopped. When we come to the cleansing, that door is where much of your work will be, gently, in time. But it is on the map now. You have seen it. The third sign is that the people of the house are worn down and cannot say why, and, this is the tell, they are better elsewhere. Watch for this precisely, because this is the sign that separates a draining house from a draining life. The tiredness lifts on trips. You sleep better, honestly better, in the hotel bed, in the daughter's guest room, at the cabin, than you sleep in your own bed, and everyone knows you are supposed to sleep worse away from home, and you sleep better, and you have joked about it and never once heard what the joke was telling you. Your mood rises within a mile of leaving and dips within a mile of returning, and you have blamed the errands, the traffic, the coming back to chores, and if others live with you, watch the shortness. The bickering that happens in the house and evaporates in the restaurant, the silences that only grow in those rooms. A heavy house presses on everyone under its roof, and pressed people snap at each other, and then the snapping soaks into the walls and adds to the very weight that caused it. And that is the circle a draining home runs, down and down year after year. If you are honestly better, softer, lighter, kinder, everywhere except home, stop blaming your character. Start looking at your dwelling. The fourth sign is that the house resists light and life. This one you can see with your eyes if you look honestly. The house never feels clean, even just after cleaning. You scrub and tidy and stand back and something is still dull about it, like a film on everything that no cloth touches. The light seems to enter reluctantly. Rooms that should be bright sit dim, and you find lamps on in daytime and cannot say when that started. The plants struggle. Mark that one. The old people always watched the plants. Green things rid a dwelling honestly and cannot be polite about it, and a house where plant after plant fails in good windows is a house telling you something. The air goes stale an hour after airing. Smells linger longer than they should. Nothing stays fresh. My grandmother called this the house holding its breath. A living house breathes, light in, air through, life circulating. And what she meant by the fourth sign is that a house pressed down by enough residue stops breathing, the way a grieving person's chest goes shallow without their noticing. You cannot fix this sign by cleaning harder. You have tried cleaning harder. It is not dirt. It is held breath. And the cleansing I will teach you is, at its heart, how to make a house exhale. And the fifth sign, the one that brings people to my door with their voices lowered, is that you do not feel alone in the house, and the feeling is not sweet. Now I must speak carefully here, because I have taught you before about visits, about the cardinal at the window and the beloved presence in the doorway of a dream. And those are gentle things. They come with warmth. They leave comfort behind. If that is what your house holds, that is not darkness, and tonight is not about that. I mean the other feeling, and those who have it know the difference without being told. The unease in certain rooms after dark, the corner your eyes keep checking, the feeling of being watched that has no warmth in it, the reluctance which you have admitted to no one, to be in your own home at night, television running for company until sleep takes you, every lamp doing guard duty. Hear the old understanding of this because it is kinder than your fear and truer than the television. What presses on a person in those moments, in almost every case I have ever sat with, is not a being that came in. It is everything already named tonight: the residue, the dead room, the held breath, the unreleased grief and anger and fear of years, grown thick enough that you can finally feel it as a presence. It is not watching you. It is waiting on you. There is a difference, and the difference is everything, because a watcher you must fear, but a waiter you can release. The heaviness is the unfinished business of your own house standing in its corners, patient as stacked boxes, waiting for the one person with the authority to let it go. You. You are not the prisoner of that house, my friend. You are its keeper, and you have been afraid of a backlog. So now, the cleansing, the old way, and none of it requires anything but you and a few days of resolve. First, air and light everywhere, and I mean everywhere. One day soon, weather willing, every window in that house open at once, every curtain back, every door inside the house standing wide, including that door, the dead room's door, even if you open nothing else in the room but its window. Let the wind walk through your whole house like an inspector. The old people cleansed with air before anything else. Moving air is to a dwelling what breath is to a body, the beginning of everything. Second, sound and voice. A house goes dark in silence, so break it with living sound. Your music, loud, the good old songs, and your own voice. Sing badly, speak, pray out loud, laugh on the telephone in every room, walk through the house and talk to it if you can bear to feel foolish. My grandmother did it all her life. Greet the rooms, thank the kitchen, tell the hallway what it is going to become. Sound is how a keeper announces the household is under management again. Third, the releasing. Room by room, in your own time, take up what is heavy and let it go. The objects that hold nothing but pain, not the treasures, hear me, keep every treasure. I mean the things you keep out of guilt and heaviness, the boxes never unpacked, the reminders that only wound. Thank them, out loud if you can, for what they held, and let them leave your house. And the dead room, gently, gradually, a little at a time, with tears when tears come, open it, air it, and give it a new life, a plant, a chair, a purpose, any small living use, because a room, like a heart, is healed by new purpose, not by sealing. And fourth, refill. I have taught you this before, and it crowns everything tonight. A cleansed house must be given new residue, good residue, on purpose. Cook the real meal so the house smells of care. Light the candle at dusk like a small fire being kept. Invite one person in and feed them. Laughter soaks into walls exactly the way anger does. This is the whole secret. The house absorbs whatever you give it, it always has. That is how it got heavy, and that is how it will get light. Do these 4 things and give it a season, and I promise you what my grandmother promised me. You will walk in your own door one ordinary afternoon, and in the first 3 breaths you will feel it. The coat is gone, the house exhaled, the presence you feared was never a monster, it was a backlog, and the keeper finally cleared it. Your home has been waiting years to be light again. It is waiting on nobody but you, and after tonight, it is not even waiting on your ignorance. Only your beginning. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there. The Native Way, 20 teachings, 100 pages. Written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone, or find the link in the comments. Read 1 chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which sign did you recognize in your own home, and which room came into your mind tonight? I read every comment, and if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here, we are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.